Hey y'all, my name is Julia Gear and I'm the head dramaturg at the Brighter Days production. Today I'm here with the actors. Hi! And we're going to be answering a few questions. So first of all, we're going to start off by going around and introducing each actor. Starting with Aaron.
Hello, I'm Aaron Yohana. I'm a junior and I play Poppy in Brighter Days.
Hello, I'm Wiley Sadlier, and I'm a freshman, and I play Thomas in Brighter Days.
Hello, I'm Piper Jones, and I play Isla in Brighter Days, and I'm also a senior.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Mann. I play Rose, and we're going to go with In Brighter Days for this tagline. Okay, In Brighter Days, and I'm a sophomore.
Hi, my name is Izzy Whitehead. I'm a junior, and I play Nellie in Brighter Days.
My name's Connor. I play Isaac, and I play Isaac in Brighter Days.
My name's Audrey Wirtz, and I play Maeve in Brighter Days.
Awesome! Okay, my first question goes to Audrey and Izzy. So how did you start researching for your accents since you both have very different accents?
Well, the accent process all started together as a group. The actors created a PowerPoint. We split it up and just started researching vowel placement. We researched consonants. We listened to tracks. We tried to gather as many resources from the internet as we could find that were good and reliable resources. So as you can guess with our time period, that was a little bit of a struggle, but it was a lot of fun, and we helped each other out to start off.
Yeah, all of us worked together on the PowerPoint, and we all kind of sectioned it off. This was before we knew what character we were gonna be, like what accent our backgrounds were going to be from. So I helped research Yiddish accents, which I don't know if we really did that in the show, but I helped research that. I did not actually even touch an Irish accent until they said, hey, Audrey, you're going to be Irish now. I said, okay. And by that point, I already had all of the information that I would need to make a decent enough Irish accent.
So talking a little bit about like the accent process, for me it was a little bit different because we would get together in groups and practice our accent with our like accent group. So the Irish group would get together and the Russian group would get together. And then there's me, and I have a New York accent, which is a little bit different. So part of the challenge for me as an actor was getting the feedback and getting the practice in without hearing it from my fellow actors, because I was the only one with that accent. So fun story, I annoyed the heck out of my family with constant talking in the accent, just over and over and over until it just felt more natural. So that was a big challenge for me, and something that I enjoyed working on in a little different way than I think other people worked on it.
Yeah, and I'm lucky enough that in the show I had a sister, and my sister was Piper, because Piper's really good at an Irish accent, or she had a better grasp at it at the very, very beginning than a lot of other people did of their accents at that time. So it was really nice working with someone who kind of knew what they were doing and then really knew what they were doing, because I was able to kind of catch up towards the end of that.
That's really interesting and really cool. Izzy, my mom's from New York, so you should have asked her. So my second question is kind of for anyone. What was the biggest character challenge you faced?
Sorry, my thing wouldn't turn on, but for me personally, the biggest, challenge that I faced was, kind of that first hurdle of how do I fit into the character? How does the character fit into who I am? Which is, that connecting question that's like magic. And it's kind of just like, how do I fit into Rose? I just said that, but beside the point. It's like, it's a century between us. And so I think for me personally, once I was able to kind of get over that like years that separated us, it was easier for me to get into what connected us as like emotional and just as humans, you know. So that was a challenge for me, I would say.
Yeah, and even more, even more than that, not just character development, like as Izzy said before, developing your accent, and because there's only 2 Russian actors, but at least we have someone like Izzy. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad I have Mackenzie to like practice with, and it was different for the Russian actors too, because at first we were Yiddish, and then we were New York, and then now we're Russian, and so we kind of like traveled through all the different accents while everyone else had their accent like solid, and we were still trying to figure out like which accent we're doing. So
Yeah.
that was fun.
Yeah, the part about it that's fun too is you can have all the accents on your resume now. You know, so now you have the Yiddish and the New York on your accent resume because you've had to go through it. And I will add on to that, like Sydney too. Connor and her play my children, even though I'm younger to them, but we won't talk about that, you know. But like, yeah, so having kind of the group, you know, which I feel like kind of is a testament to Izzy's like hard work with the accents as a challenge, you know. Having a group in a communal sort of Russian area made it a little bit easier on that end and kind of helped shorten the distance and made it easier to connect. And so I feel like, again, it's a testament to Izzy being able to connect to Nellie, even though she didn't have a group to work with that, you know?
I think
Yeah, and like
the hardest
summary with everything, that like comes with like the enjoyment from this whole production is how everyone's saying like they have to jump from accent to accent and obstacle to obstacle. You see this in stage plays, but even more so now, just how spontaneous it is because we're writing this own show ourselves and producing it. So everything's constantly changing. We're always constantly adapting, and it's a lot of fun though. So.
Okay. Something that was really hard for me, no shade, Aaron. Something that was really hard for me was with building the character was kind of how much we had to build. Since we were, like Aaron was saying, since it's always changing, we didn't have much time to, whenever there was a change in the script, we would have to change how we saw our character or acted as our character. And sometimes we didn't have too much time. And so it was always fun to do that, but pretty hard.
Building
Yeah,
up more wide.
Okay, I'll go. Sometimes we'd have our scripts originally, like scene 1 through 12, and then we'd already run through that multiple times on Zoom calls and stuff, but then sometimes like scene 10 or whatever would get like some changes or some cuts, so it'd be shorter. But we would be so busy filming the scenes before scene 10 that by the time we got to that, we weren't really, we hadn't really had time to do it with each other. We didn't really know our characters' like motives and stuff for that scene as much because we didn't really have a chance to explore it. And so for that, we really had to adapt to the fast pace of it because at the beginning it was really, really slow and like, oh, our character's kind of like this and a little bit like this. And then it starts speeding up and suddenly it's like, oh, this is what my character does. This is what my character is going to do. And my scene is being filmed in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think something really unique about this experience for all of us was we had a say in what was happening and what our character was doing. So it was a little bit of a challenge because in a normal script, you have your character, everything about them, or not everything, but most of their story, you know their backstory, you know what happens after the show, you know every single detail about them during the show because it's explicitly written. A part of being in this process was getting to create that and work with the writers to create a character that we believed in and that we thought stood for things we thought they should stand for, and growing with them in that way. And I thought it was a really unique thing that we got to do and that I've never gotten to experience before, but it was definitely a challenge because it really tested your not only imagination, but your understanding of what was going on. You had to be so solid on the script that you had at the time to be able to build those and make those decisions later on.
Yeah, like what all of you said, it's that thing of we had a lot of freedom in this, and we had a lot of, I wouldn't say like we weren't the ones writing the script, obviously, but once that script was given to us, I think it might have been Audrey or Wiley who said something earlier about how like you're only on there for 5 minutes, then it's on to the next person. And because it's such an ensemble cast, it really proves a challenge, but also this really great exercise of freedom as an actor for you, where you can be part of the story. So much of what we do in this show is performative, but we got to have this creative, beauty, the beauty of the creative side expressed in that, which I thought was super sick, So yeah, that sounded sarcastic. It wasn't. It was super sick. Yeah. Okay.
That is really cool. And I think like having, again, like with COVID, allowing us to create our own show and our own characters and build something from nothing is so cool. Erin, I have a question about your character. So how did you step into your character and evolve this arc, especially since your character had a disability?
Yeah. So my character, Poppy, he's very different from some 16-year-old high school student. So you have to like ask yourself, what can I do, which mentioned previously of Mackenzie, to connect to my character. So I just kept asking myself these like if statements to my circumstances, just to move forward in little baby steps. Like, I'm an Irish immigrant. I got into a tailoring accident, so my right hand is like all the nerves are cut, so I can't really move it properly. It's having tremors. So that leads me to cancel my providing of my son. So that gives me negative feelings. And then what would my character do with those negative feelings? How would I put that out? I'm destructive. So it's just like stuff like that that's ramping up that I'm going to have to deal with and provide through my acting. And through the arc of my character, because he does make a huge change, as you've seen throughout the story, I kind of had to relate it to myself, and even in the smallest ways, because I feel like there's some universal basis to everything that's going on in the show that hopefully resonates within you. That like if you've ever feeling like a sense of hopelessness before, which I'm sure everyone has, and that you would tell yourself that I can get through this, it's fine, I'm on my own, I need to be stronger, but you can't. So you need to find someone else, which I believe is what Poppy did in this. He found it in his son, Thomas, which you've seen in his small one-on-one scene with just him, that he does need someone else, and with that strength, he can make a real change. So yeah, it's really strong, and I use that a lot to help me out.
That's really cool. So this is a this is what the audience wants to know. Piper, Connor, I know you two are little lovebirds. How did you film that scene and film your whole relationship while maintaining COVID guidelines?
Well, it was definitely a challenge to do because a lot of times people would be like, all right, so now you might hold hands here, but we can't hold hands because that spreads COVID. So we just had to work around that. And one of the ways that we worked around that was through making the COVID guidelines sort of like character choices. For example, in the scene that we have together, I sit far away from Isaac, and I kind of turn away from him a lot of the time, so not to breathe in his general direction. But it also shows that Isla doesn't really want to be seen too much, to be too affectionate in public with Isaac, because people might disapprove. His parents might hear, or his mother might hear about it. So we made it a character choice.
Yeah, and that's like their secret spot. So no one's supposed to know where that is, but people could still come by maybe. And I think Isla's not willing to take that chance. Like, she doesn't want to be hugging up on Isaac, and then some dude walks in, he's like, or something. I don't know. But I feel like Isaac would want to take that risk, but it's Isla that's stopping him, because Isla's the responsible one, and Isaac is not very responsible.
Not very responsible. You heard it from Connor himself. So, Mackenzie, Wiley, I have a question for both of you. How was it like acting on a film instead of on a stage, like a normal production would be?
It was definitely different. And yeah, it was very different, but I think I actually preferred it in some ways. Not in every way. With normal stage acting, it's really nice having an audience. It's just nice. Mackenzie will probably touch on that in a moment. But I like how the camera is so close, because you can be more realistic. You don't have to be super big with your body movements, and you can be more subtle and more realistic with the character, and it's more in the face and how you move the face and how you deliver lines, and which I think is interesting. Also, I've never done it until now, and so it's something new, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, like, that's exactly it, you know, beyond the fact that it's the idea of, you know, like when you act, one of the first things is, okay, you and your partner, very Meisner, this idea of between us, but you always have that third party. And it's very different, you know, it's the key word, whenever you're not allowed to have a live third party with you, and it's a stationary camera. And so instead of playing to 100 feet in front of you, you're playing to, 6 or less than 6 feet. We stayed to COVID guidelines, but the camera would be less than 6 feet. So, yeah, we're safe. Don't worry about it. And yeah, and so it's a very different energy that you get from that, and it's perspective shift. And, you know, as an actor, it's about learning the subtleties on film, and, you know, comparative to stage. I think Wiley touched on something earlier that was like, whenever we kind of got used to it as actors doing that film stuff. And during this time of COVID, we had to get used to doing film stuff. And then I think we were taking production photos, and he was like, I have to react bigger. And, you know, and so that like shift is so like interesting. And, you know, I'm excited as an actor and performer to see what that shift will be like after COVID too. You know, this is a little bit of a tangent. I do apologize, but like, yeah. And I feel like it was kind of an interesting thing, at least on my perspective of us actors, getting to explore what is probably going to be our majority of acting for a good little bit, you know, with a really great project that we all believe in and are proud of. So I feel like that was something that's really interesting, and the switch between them, but also like a cool honor that we're getting to like work with this and work on this level, which has never been really done before at this high school, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that this show would be as impactful as it is if it was an actual like stage production with an audience?
I think, yes. I do think it would, still be as impactful with the, what people take away from the show. But I feel that it was definitely written for a camera, because on lots of parts where there could be dialogue, there isn't, and it's implied with the way the characters move and their facial expressions. But also, I think the fire scene is really cool. You couldn't have done that on a stage, now could you?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, fire scene, obviously, not as impactful. Takes away from the whole story, you know, I'm kidding. But, like, yeah. And so I feel like at the end of the day, what we're creating and what the story is, I feel like by itself, yeah, it would be just as impactful on a stage, because, you know, art is art at the end of the day, as long as it's truthful. But I will say that the situational aspects, i.e. a global pandemic, that led us to create this art definitely, I feel like, makes it resonate in an entirely different category and on a different playing field than it would have. Bless you, Audrey. Than if it, very attentive, than if we didn't, were able to perform it on the stage. And so I feel like it, at the end of the day, it would be kind of comparing like two different shows. Like what Wiley said, the fire scene would be entirely different, and how we've created it and like kind of sewn it as a show being incredibly different. And that's a really interesting question. And now I'm like thinking about it. She's like, thank you, yeah. But
thanks.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
And we got to experiment with that when we were taking photos, because we kind of had to change it. We added like new blocking, and especially for me, because I hadn't done a show in a while, like a live, and I mean none of us have, but I really felt it because we were trying. I had a hard time cheating out because I was so used to being able to just move how I would in a real space.
I second that so hard, yeah. And that's like, I feel like it's so, like it's such a very different thing. I know that like Izzy, like they were filming a scene, like not filming, they were taking photos of a scene, and like, I don't remember exactly what happened, like, but like basically it was kind of you just being like, I'm trying to cheat out. The set isn't set up for me to cheat out, And so I feel like that's where that shift comes in, And I feel like, yeah, I think it's a really cool and interesting idea to put them on two different playing fields as like shows. And I feel like, yeah, you might have to cut this part out because it's me just staring wistfully off into the distance or in my window. But yeah.
I liked that. I liked your staring off. I think it really added character to this round table. Okay, so I have a question for all of you. A little fun question. Do you guys have any rituals or good luck charms you do before we start shooting?
Well, so as I was talking about my accent earlier and how no one else speaks my accent, I got into a habit of saying this one line before I walked in, because it'd normally be like two people in an Irish accent having a conversation. Like when we were practicing, I just walk in and start speaking a really bad Irish accent because I didn't study that one because that's what I heard. So before I walked on stage every time to film or like made my entrance, I'd be like, in my accent, I'd say the same line, speaking in the way of a genuine New Yorker. That's the first line I learned how to say in the accent, and it just got me into like the mindset and like the way your mouth shaped, because I have a southern drawl, or I've been informed I do. I don't hear it. But being able to say that line, speak faster, get into the posture that made me feel and stuff like that. That was what I did before before I walked on.
Yeah, and I also for my accent, for a while I had to have a word that would get me into it. Originally, we watched a video of a girl and she had a bunch of practice sentences, and one of the sentences I did was, Fortune smiled upon him in Ireland, right? But slowly, but surely, it evolved into something. I'd say better, other might say worse. And I'd start just saying, Saoirse Ronan, just Saoirse Ronan's name. And before a scene, like towards the beginning, I just say Saoirse Ronan, Saoirse Ronan. Oh yes, it's just me. I'm talking about Saoirse Ronan. And it doesn't even make sense. It's not even a word that really would make anyone else get into an Irish accent, but nobody stopped me from doing it. And a lot of people just ignored it. So it's fine.
You know what my show ritual was, Audrey? Like, for some reason, Saoirse Ronan just kept appearing, like, in the mirror, and I had to, like, cast her out. Like, I don't know what was
like
going on.
Bloody Mary?
Oh, like Bloody, that's it. Thank you, Audrey.
Don't say her name 3 times.
My word for getting my accent was Ireland. And so when at the start of the fire scene, when I would go in to check people's pulses, before I would say a line, I would just be like, Ireland, Ireland, Ireland. Hey, she's dying, come and help. So yeah, that was my ritual.
I'm sorry, I laughed really hard at that line. I don't mean to be funny, like, people died. That was me laughing at the idea of Ireland, Ireland, Ireland. Oh my god, she's dead. Ireland, Ireland. That's switch for me. Okay, I feel like I should defend myself. Hashtag Mackenzie man is over party, you know?
But I have one
Aaron,
more.
go.
Okay. And this is really near and dear to my heart. But before every show, when we go to the boys' makeup room and start getting ready, I would purposely let Connor beat me a lot of times because he would start playing MJ and dance to it, and it made me really happy. But so that's my ritual, and I will miss it.
I will miss dancing for everybody in the boys makeup. Before every rehearsal, I would always, or every film day, I would always just blast some music and then just jam off to it before we went to film.
Oh, I have another ritual that I just remembered. Another ritual that I had was constantly touching my hairpiece, because if it wasn't over my shoulder, then it was going to fall off, which it actually, during scene 8.5, it did fall off, almost. And, like, that's a whole thing. But I kept, like, pushing bobby pins in because it just wouldn't stay in for a lot of the time. Because my hair is really short, and I don't know. It was very weird. But when we were taking production photos, I had my head in Piper's lap, and she singing her song, and they were taking the pictures. And then she pushed a bobby pin into my, like, from the hairpiece into my hair, and I started laughing really loud.
Those are some really interesting rituals. Last question for our roundtable is going to be, what do you guys hope that the audience will take away from the show or your character's experience?
Nice guys finished first.
Well, I think my
He
character.
got that. He got that from. He got that from the. Which character are you? Go check the link out.
I think my character Nellie, I think she would tell you to, like, if she wanted you to get anything out of the show, I think she'd really want you to, like, stand up for what you believe in and, like, go out and get that. Like, don't be afraid. But for me as an actor, the message of the show was really about hope and, like, growing after dark times. Of course, the people in the show, I mean, witnessed incredible loss. And I think it kind of ties into, I mean, we've lost a lot during the pandemic, some more than others, and it's been a really difficult time. But I think being able to grow after that and see, like, what our characters did, they witnessed incredible loss, but they grew from that. They came together as a community, and they found this place where they could all work and be safe and be together. And I think that while we may not be able to be together in person due to COVID, that this show teaches us about hope, about the brighter days that are ahead of us, and, like, to go out and to do that and to use our community and use our resources to do those things.
Going off of what she said, so, like, prettily, that was not a word, beautifully, that's an adverb. Okay, cool. So, yeah, for me personally, I think everybody's incredibly different. You know, I think everybody has an incredulously varying past that makes them come to the show with a different perspective. And I think that whatever that perspective is, it's good, it's valid, and I'm glad you have it. And I really just hope that what you take from the show is what you will. I don't mean that passively at all, but a genuine sort of what resonates with you resonates with you. You know, for some, it might be the aspect of community. It might be the aspect of hope. It might be the aspect of, you know, nice guys finish first. And that's valid. You're valid. That last part was a joke, but also, like, you know, and so I feel like that's the beauty of the show is, again, it has all these incredibly different stories. And if you can find yourself in one of these characters, or even just find one of the themes and connect it to you, I think that as actors and as creatives and as whatever we are, teenagers, we've done the best we can. So thank you. That's what I have to say about that.
Fire safety. I really do think at the end of the day, thank you, Mackenzie. I do think at the end of the day, this show is completely subjective. You take away what you take away in the same way as a main stage show. I think what most people are going to leave with is community, don't work in a factory in the 1910s. I think that's a big one. But I think the biggest one is, for me, is fire safety. I'm going to go buy a fire extinguisher later. Like, bro, being in that smoke-filled black box. Fire safety.
And that's the beauty of taking what you will from the show. So many perspectives really add to the whole. Creates a new show in of itself. Oh, yes.
That's really important. Wait, Audrey, I'm a little concerned. Do you not have a fire extinguisher in your house?
Absolutely not. No. Before this show, I actually didn't believe in fire. But this show has changed my mind about that.
Do you have an electric stove or a gas?
Don't worry, we have a gas stove. You don't need a fire extinguisher if your stove sometimes doesn't turn on and you have to use a lighter to make the flame go on. You don't need you're silly, Julia.
Oh, I guess I am. Thank you all so much for coming and watching this actor roundtable. Let's give it up for the actors. Woo! Yay!
Do we clap?
Okay.
What do we do? Do we
clap?
for
Everyone clap for each other. Yay, you all did so wonderful, amazing, great. Woo! Have a great rest of your day, whether it's really early in the morning or really late at night or just in the middle of the day. Have a great rest of your day. Bye! Bye!